The night holds a strange kind of silence when we begin to look back into the ancient world. A silence not empty, but full, like a deep breath taken before a whispered revelation. It is within this quiet that forgotten stories begin to stir, like dust lifting from the pages of an unread book. The mysteries that surround humanity's oldest civilizations rise softly, one by one, weaving into a vast tapestry of unanswered questions. These secrets, older than memory and deeper than recorded history, echo through ruins, inscriptions, and artifacts scattered across the earth. They call to us gently, urging us to peer beneath the surface of what we think we know. And so we begin our journey into forbidden knowledge, into the realms where science hesitates, where history fades, and where curiosity fills the spaces that scholarship cannot. The world is full of stories we can verify, archaeological reports, carbon dating results, inscriptions whose meanings scholars have agreed upon. But parallel to this established timeline runs another world, one defined not by certainty but by possibility. These are the shadows of history, the whispers that scholars acknowledge but seldom can explain with confidence. They include structures built with impossible precision, machines created long before the tools required to make them, symbols repeated across continents with no recorded contact between cultures, and knowledge that appears to rise suddenly, as if inherited rather than discovered. This tension between what we know and what seems impossible creates a quiet fascination, a slow, hypnotic draw that pulls us deeper into the unknown. Consider, for a moment, how much of humanity's past lies buried beneath oceans, beneath jungles, beneath sand. Entire cities have been swallowed by time, libraries burned to ash, civilizations erased by disaster or conquest. What remains is often fragmentary, incomplete, or mysterious. A single stone wall with two perfect angles. A map drawn centuries before the lands it depicts were explored. A device whose gears and mechanisms far exceed the craftsmanship expected from its era. These anomalies serve as invitations, gentle, persistent calls to look closer, to question the limits of what we assume the ancients could do. They remind us that human history is not a straight line, but a landscape full of rises and falls, advances and losses, bursts of brilliance followed by long, quiet periods where knowledge slipped away, sometimes irretrievably. This documentary journey embraces both sides of that duality, the verified and the speculative, the illuminated and the shadowed, the familiar and the forbidden. The purpose is not to claim certainty where there is none, nor to replace science with fantasy, but to explore the rich space between them, the twilight zone where evidence meets intuition and logic encounters wonder. It is in this space that the mind relaxes, where imagination becomes an ally to understanding, where we drift into the broader possibility of what our ancestors may have known. This is the space lovers of history and mystery find solace in, calm, slow, meditative, and quietly astonishing. Throughout this marathon of ancient enigmas, we will explore secrets that challenge conventional timelines, devices that imply advanced scientific understanding, texts that hint at lost libraries of profound sophistication, and symbols whose meanings ripple across continents without explanation. But before diving into these puzzles, it is important to ground ourselves in the atmosphere of curiosity that makes such a journey possible. Imagine yourself stepping into a vast archive whose shelves stretch farther than the eye can see, each scroll and artifact offering a small doorway into an earlier world. Dust floats lazily in the dim light. The air is thick with the scent of old pages, stone, and time. Somewhere in this archive lies the truth, or perhaps truths plural, about humanity's forgotten feats. And somewhere within you lies the gentle desire to uncover them, not abruptly, not loudly, but slowly, like unfolding a delicate piece of ancient cloth. As we walk further into this world, let us consider the concept of forbidden knowledge. The phrase conjures images of hidden scrolls, secret chambers, and authority-suppressing discoveries that contradict established narratives. In reality, The idea is subtler and more philosophical. Forbidden knowledge often refers simply to knowledge that has been lost. Lost through war, fire, natural disaster, or the slow erosion of time. Sometimes it was forbidden by circumstance, not by design. Other times, it was concealed deliberately, reserved for initiates, passed down through coded symbols or rituals. In every case, its absence leaves behind a vacuum, a space that our modern minds naturally seek to fill with hypotheses, myths, and questions. Mystery does not exist without contrast, and so we also acknowledge what is known. Archaeologists, historians, and scientists have uncovered extraordinary achievements from ancient peoples. Mathematical systems, architectural wonders, philosophical traditions, and engineering feats that inspire awe even without invoking anything supernatural. The known world is profound. Yet it is precisely the brilliance of established ancient knowledge that makes the unknown fragments even more compelling. When we see evidence of precise astronomy carved into stone thousands of years before telescopes, or metallurgical skills that should not exist without advanced furnaces, or maps that predate the exploration of the lands they depict, we pause. Not to leap to conclusions, but to marvel. To let our minds wander into the possibility that humanity's past is far richer, more complex, and more interconnected than our textbooks suggest. The night is the perfect setting for such a journey. The subdued glow of moonlight, the stillness of a darkened room, the gentle drift of thoughts that occurs when the body begins to relax. These create ideal conditions for reflection. Mystery feels softer at night, kinder, more patient. Without the noise of day-to-day life, the mind is free to wander through ancient corridors, to stand before towering temples, to imagine lost continents and forgotten scholars. In the quiet of night, the boundaries between past and present soften, allowing curiosity to guide rather than overwhelm. This documentary is crafted for that state of mind. Calm, slow, soothing, filled with imagery and ideas that encourage thought without demanding tension. Ancient secrets often feel forbidden because they push us to rethink what we know. Modern science, though sophisticated and powerful, is still a young structure compared to the vastness of human existence. Our ancestors lived close to the rhythms of the earth and sky, their lives intertwined with nature in ways we have largely forgotten. They watched the stars not as background scenery, but as guiding patterns. They felt the movement of seasons not as a calendar detail, but as a living cycle intertwined with survival. Their understanding of the cosmos was intimate, experiential, and deeply encoded into their architecture and art. When we uncover traces of this profound awareness, it startles us, not because it is magical, but because it reveals a depth of observation that modern life rarely encourages. As we begin this long journey into forgotten realms, the first step is simply to open ourselves to the quiet possibility that ancient people may have known things we have not yet rediscovered. Not in a sensational way, but in a reflective, balanced way. This openness allows each mystery to unfold gently before us, revealing its layers like petals of a nocturnal flower. Some mysteries will lead to speculation. Others will find grounding in modern research. Some will remain beautifully unresolved, and that is part of their charm. We will encounter great civilizations that rose, flourished, and disappeared, leaving behind relics that defy easy explanation. We will walk through long-lost libraries whose ashes still haunt the imagination. We will glimpse technologies that seem misplaced, timelines that falter under scrutiny, and monuments that mirror the movements of stars with uncanny precision. But through all of this, our pace will remain soft and steady, like a gentle river at night. The purpose is not to overwhelm the mind with theories, but to invite it into a meditative flow, where questions become companions rather than puzzles demanding solutions. As the journey unfolds, let your thoughts drift. Let the tone guide you. Let the imagery fill your imagination with a calm sense of wonder. Whether you're listening to unwind, to sleep, or to reflect deeply on forgotten worlds, This marathon of mysteries welcomes you. The night is long, the stories are ancient, and the secrets are patient. All you need to do is follow the thread, one quiet step at a time. Long before the cities we know today rose from the earth, there existed civilizations whose achievements continue to puzzle historians, archaeologists, and scientists alike. These were societies that flourished in places now forgotten or buried under centuries of sand, soil, and memory. Their ingenuity was remarkable, their artistry exquisite, and their understanding of the world often so advanced that modern technology struggles to replicate some of their feats. As we explore these ancient cultures, we begin to sense a subtle tension between what has been preserved and what has been irretrievably lost, between the clarity of the artifacts we uncover and the shadowy gaps that hint at knowledge withheld from our grasp. The Indus Valley Civilization, with its meticulously planned cities and sophisticated drainage systems, offers one example of brilliance that seems almost impossibly modern. Streets were laid out in precise grids, homes connected to centralized sewage networks, and yet the people left no decipherable records of their language, their leaders, or their spiritual beliefs. The more we study them, the more profound the mystery becomes. In Mesopotamia, the cradle of writing and law, we find echoes of thought that shaped human civilization for millennia. Cuneiform tablets, etched with symbols and numbers, reveal that early humans were already contemplating astronomy, trade, and mathematics in ways that laid the foundation for later discoveries. Yet alongside these remarkable insights lie anomalies that defy straightforward explanation. Why did certain cities rise to extraordinary heights of culture and organization, only to vanish without a trace of continuity? What knowledge did they possess that seemed to disappear along with them? These questions, unanswered yet tantalizing, invite us to imagine civilizations that were as brilliant as they were ephemeral, leaving behind hints of knowledge that modern minds can only partially interpret. Further east, the Olmecs of Mesoamerica present a similar enigma. Their colossal heads, carved from stone, transported miles from distant quarries, suggest an understanding of logistics and artistry that would challenge engineers even today. Small details, such as the alignment of ceremonial sites with celestial events or the integration of water and landscape in their city planning, reveal a civilization deeply attuned to patterns in nature and the cosmos. Yet much of their culture remains shrouded in mystery. We know little of their written language, their religious practices, or the societal forces that shaped their world. What survives are fragments, glimpses, whispers, shadows of an understanding that may have been far richer than any artifact can convey. As we trace these remnants, a pattern emerges. Across continents and epochs, human beings have repeatedly demonstrated brilliance that seems beyond what contemporary knowledge can fully explain. The ancient Egyptians offer perhaps the most compelling illustration of this paradox. Their monuments, pyramids, temples, and tombs reflect a mastery of engineering, astronomy, and art that continues to astonish. Yet beneath the grandeur, there are still countless mysteries. The techniques used to transport massive stones, the precision with which they align structures to celestial bodies, and the symbolic depth encoded in hieroglyphs that only partially yield their secrets. Egypt's written records provide glimpses into their daily lives, spiritual beliefs, and political structures, yet they also leave us with a sense of deliberate concealment. Some knowledge, it seems, was meant only for the initiated, passed through generations in whispers, rituals, and esoteric practices that modern science can approach but never fully grasp. Even farther afield, the Indus Valley, Mesopotamia, and Egypt are mirrored by societies across Asia, Africa, and the Americas, all hinting at a shared human capacity for insight and invention that transcends time and geography. Whether it is the astronomical precision of ancient observatories in India or the intricate road networks of the Andean civilizations, these cultures remind us that the human story is far richer and stranger than the simple narratives we often inherit from textbooks. We begin to see patterns in the rise and fall of societies, glimpses of knowledge encoded not just in artifacts and ruins, but in the landscapes themselves, the stars, and even the rhythms of daily life. The deeper we look, the more we realize that ancient brilliance often seems deliberately hidden, preserved in subtle forms that require patience and imagination to uncover. As we move through these civilizations, it becomes clear that the allure of the unknown is inseparable from the beauty of the known. Each discovery brings satisfaction, yet also raises questions, creating a gentle tension that draws us onward. We marvel at what humans accomplished thousands of years ago, while simultaneously sensing the limits of our understanding. This duality, the clarity of visible achievement against the obscurity of lost or hidden knowledge, creates a landscape where curiosity flourishes. It is here, amid the ruins, the artifacts, and the faint echoes of vanished cultures, that we begin to grasp the scale of human ingenuity and the depth of what remains concealed. The past is alive in these traces, and by listening carefully, we may catch fragments of wisdom that continue to challenge, inspire, and haunt us. In this space, the line between history and mystery begins to blur. The civilizations we study were not only builders and thinkers, they were seekers of knowledge, observers of the heavens, and chroniclers of a world that extended beyond the tangible. Their accomplishments invite us to consider the broader question of human potential. What have we forgotten, and what truths lie just beyond our reach? As we leave one civilization behind and prepare to encounter the next, the rhythm of discovery carries a gentle, hypnotic cadence, lulling the mind into contemplation while stoking the quiet thrill of curiosity. It is a delicate balance, a dance between the certainty of what we know and the mystery of what we have yet to uncover, a tension that will guide us deeper into the forbidden, the enigmatic, and the extraordinary. Across the centuries, humans have sought to leave marks upon the world that would endure far beyond their own lifetimes. Some of these marks are subtle, almost imperceptible, while others rise boldly against the horizon, monumental and enduring, as if to defy both time and understanding. The great structures of the ancient world, pyramids, temples, megalithic stone circles, and colossal statues, speak to a level of precision and ambition that continues to astonish scholars and casual observers alike. These are not merely works of utility or decoration. They are testaments to the human desire to reach beyond the ordinary, to touch the heavens, and to encode knowledge in forms that transcend generations. Standing before them, one cannot help but sense a quiet grandeur, a whisper of wisdom that survives not in words but in stone, aligned and carved with purpose that modern techniques struggle to replicate. Consider the pyramids of Egypt, rising with geometrical exactness from the desert sands. Their sheer scale is staggering, yet it is the meticulous alignment to the cardinal points and celestial bodies that captures the imagination. Modern engineers marvel at the ingenuity required to move massive stones over vast distances with primitive tools, while archaeologists puzzle over the underlying knowledge that guided such precise construction. Every angle, every proportion, seems intentional, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering that appears almost miraculous for its time. Yet, even with centuries of study, gaps remain. How were the stones quarried, transported, and placed with such precision? What methods allowed these civilizations to achieve such monumental feats without the machinery we rely upon today? These unanswered questions are not obstacles. They are invitations, quietly pulling the mind deeper into the mystery of ancient ingenuity. Beyond Egypt, similar marvels appear across the globe, each reflecting the ingenuity of societies that flourished long before the rise of modern civilization. In South America, the Inca carved terraces into mountain slopes with precision that ensured both agricultural productivity and structural stability, shaping landscapes as though guided by an invisible hand. Machu Picchu and Sacsayhuaman stand as testaments to techniques that continue to confound engineers, the massive stones fitting together with an accuracy so fine that not even a blade of grass can pass between them. In Europe, Stonehenge rises in rhythmic harmony with celestial movements, its stones positioned to mark the solstices and equinoxes, hinting at an ancient understanding of astronomy that predates written records. The repetition of these achievements, across continents separated by oceans and time, suggests a universality of human curiosity and the drive to encode meaning in monumental form. The mysteries deepen when we consider the purpose behind these constructions. Were they solely religious, architectural, or practical? Or did they serve as repositories of knowledge, aligned with principles and secrets intended to endure across millennia? The Great Pyramid of Giza, the stone temples of Angkor, and the ziggurats of Mesopotamia each carry layers of symbolism, geometry, and orientation that hint at meanings lost to us. The juxtaposition of their grandeur with the enigma of their construction produces a subtle tension. We recognize the brilliance of human achievement, yet feel the limits of our understanding pressing quietly against our curiosity. It is as if these structures are sentinels, standing silently to remind us that knowledge can be both revealed and concealed, that the past holds answers we may glimpse but cannot fully grasp. Even more intriguing is the interplay between practicality and mystery in these monuments. Consider the alignment of the pyramids with the stars, or the positioning of megaliths in relation to solstices and celestial events. The sophistication required to achieve such precision suggests observational expertise and an understanding of patterns that modern science is only beginning to appreciate. Yet there are anomalies that defy explanation, stones whose weight and origin baffle engineers, techniques for carving or transporting materials that remain speculative, and structural features that seem to anticipate principles of physics not formally recognized until centuries later. These contradictions are not frustrating gaps. They are gentle invitations to contemplate the possibility that ancient societies possessed insights we have yet to rediscover, knowledge encoded in stone, in alignment, and in the quiet geometry of the earth itself. As we wander through these monumental spaces in thought and imagination, a sense of timelessness emerges. The weight of history presses softly yet insistently against the present, reminding us that human ambition, curiosity, and ingenuity have long reached for the extraordinary. Each site, each structure, offers a dual experience, one of aesthetic and technical admiration, and another of profound mystery. They are windows into the minds of those who came before, who thought deeply about their place in the cosmos, about their relationship to the natural world, and about the legacy they would leave behind. In this balance of known skill and unknowable method, we begin to sense the contours of forbidden knowledge, insights encoded not in manuscripts or inscriptions alone, but in stone, shadow, and subtle alignment, waiting patiently for those who will see beyond the surface. In this way, monuments become more than remnants. They are conversation partners across time, offering questions as much as answers. They invite reflection, curiosity, and wonder, all while maintaining a gentle, hypnotic rhythm that is at once calming and stimulating. Our understanding of them may never be complete, yet the act of engaging with these creations allows us to participate in a continuum of human thought and ingenuity. With each observation, each imagined reconstruction of how they were built, we approach a deeper awareness of the balance between what humans can achieve and what remains hidden, a delicate interplay that forms the very heart of the mysteries we seek to explore. It is this interplay between the monumental known and the enigmatic unknown that propels us forward, gently guiding our journey toward further discoveries and revelations that lie ahead. As we move beyond the grand monuments and towering structures of ancient civilizations, a subtler, yet equally compelling form of evidence emerges: the symbols, scripts, and enigmatic carvings left behind by those who came before us. Unlike the imposing presence of stone pyramids or vast terraces, these signs are delicate, almost intimate, whispering secrets to those who are willing to pause and listen. Glyphs etched into walls, intricate pictographs, and mysterious inscriptions appear across the world, from the dense jungles of Central America to the isolated islands of the Pacific. Each mark seems to carry a dual purpose: practical, in recording daily life, or ritual, and esoteric, hinting at wisdom that transcends ordinary understanding. In these silent messages, we begin to glimpse the minds of the ancients, who sought not only to communicate, but to preserve knowledge in forms that challenge modern interpretation. Some symbols are immediately recognizable, their meanings preserved through centuries of study. Others, however, resist translation, leaving linguists and historians in a state of quiet perplexity. The Rongorongo script of Easter Island, for instance, is a series of mysterious glyphs carved on wooden tablets, whose purpose and content remain largely undeciphered. Scholars have debated endlessly about whether these symbols record genealogies, astronomical observations, or sacred knowledge. Similarly, undeciphered scripts from the Indus Valley, etched on clay seals, hint at a level of literacy and communication sophisticated enough to suggest that this civilization possessed intellectual depths we have yet to fully appreciate. These scripts serve as bridges into the minds of ancient peoples. Yet they also remind us that the vast majority of their knowledge has slipped silently into the shadows, leaving behind tantalizing fragments for us to ponder. Beyond scripts, symbolic carvings and motifs can be found across continents, connecting seemingly disparate cultures through shared patterns of thought. Spirals, serpents, and celestial motifs recur in the artwork of the Celts, the Mayans, and the Egyptians alike, suggesting that humans, regardless of geography, sought to encode profound truths in symbols. These images may have served as spiritual guides, tools for teaching, or mnemonic devices to preserve knowledge across generations. Yet, despite their apparent repetition, the precise meanings of these symbols remain largely hidden, challenging the modern mind to interpret them without imposing contemporary biases. There's a quiet tension here, a contrast between our desire for clarity and the subtle, deliberate ambiguity of the ancients. In this tension lies the beauty and allure of forbidden knowledge, a wisdom that is hinted at, partially revealed, yet never fully yielded. The very act of attempting to decipher these symbols becomes a meditative experience. As we trace their lines with the imagination, considering the context in which they were carved, we begin to perceive patterns and possibilities, even as certainty eludes us. Some may relate to astronomical phenomena, marking the positions of stars, the cycles of the moon, or the movement of the sun. Others might encode spiritual teachings or instructions for rituals that are now lost. The ambiguity invites reflection rather than immediate understanding, fostering a quiet, hypnotic engagement with the past. In a world accustomed to rapid answers, the slow contemplation of these symbols is a gentle reminder that knowledge can be layered, and that patience is required to approach even a fragment of ancient wisdom. It is also important to recognize that many of these symbols were deliberately designed to obscure as much as they revealed. In esoteric traditions across cultures, knowledge was reserved for initiates, transmitted orally, and encoded in signs that only a trained observer could interpret correctly. Some carvings may have served as warnings, instructions, or records of forbidden sciences that were too dangerous or sacred to be widely disseminated. As we consider these possibilities, the line between fact and speculation blurs, drawing us deeper into the hypnotic rhythm of history and mystery. The act of observing becomes an act of participation, a quiet communion with minds long gone, whose thoughts continue to ripple through the ages in cryptic but deliberate patterns. In contemplating these symbols and scripts, we also confront the limits of modern understanding. Technology allows us to scan, analyze, and compare, but it cannot replace intuition, imagination, or the subtle perception of context that may have guided the original creators. Every undeciphered inscription, every enigmatic motif, carries with it a sense of withheld knowledge, a knowledge that might illuminate not only the past, but also dimensions of human thought and understanding that we are only beginning to explore. These symbols, silent yet insistent, remind us that history is layered, that human ingenuity has long encompassed both the tangible and the unseen, and that some truths are designed to be approached not with certainty, but with reverence, patience, and curiosity. And so, as we trace these ancient symbols with our minds, we feel the delicate presence of mystery, as palpable as the monuments we have left behind. They guide us quietly, suggesting that human civilizations were not only builders and creators, but also philosophers, astronomers, and guardians of knowledge encoded in forms that transcend language and time. In the juxtaposition of what is known and what remains hidden, we begin to sense the subtle cadence of forbidden wisdom, a rhythm that invites reflection, inspires curiosity, and gently propels us forward into the next phase of discovery, where lost texts, hidden libraries, and secret teachings await, quietly holding the next pieces of the enigmatic puzzle of our past. Beyond the silent symbols and mysterious scripts lies another layer of ancient knowledge, one that often feels even more tantalizing because it is hidden from view, lost to time, or deliberately concealed. Lost texts and hidden libraries have long fascinated scholars, adventurers, and seekers of wisdom. The very idea of a repository of knowledge, carefully guarded or tragically destroyed, evokes both wonder and melancholy. Imagine a library that held secrets capable of transforming our understanding of the world, a collection of writings that chronicled civilizations, science, and philosophy far ahead of its time, only to vanish in a single catastrophic fire, an invasion, or the slow erosion of centuries. The absence of these texts is as significant as their existence, leaving spaces in our historical consciousness where curiosity and speculation quietly dwell. The Library of Alexandria, perhaps the most famous of all lost repositories, embodies this tension perfectly. It was said to contain works from across the known world, encompassing mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, and literature. Scholars believe it housed texts from cultures that are now otherwise silent, capturing knowledge that we may never recover. The tragic loss of such a wealth of human understanding continues to stir the imagination. What wisdom was erased in the flames? How much of what we consider modern discovery had already been glimpsed by minds long before us? The very absence of these records becomes a presence in itself, a quiet reminder of the fragility of knowledge and the persistence of human curiosity that seeks to reclaim it. Across time and space, other hidden or lost texts echo this theme. Ancient monasteries tucked away in mountains, desert caves filled with scrolls and manuscripts, and secret chambers beneath sacred temples all hint at civilizations that guarded knowledge with care. Some texts may have contained scientific observations, medical practices, or engineering methods far advanced for their time, while others may have held spiritual insights, esoteric philosophies, or ethical codes intended only for the initiated. Each instance of preservation or concealment carries with it a story, often intertwined with the forces of power, religion, and human ambition. The deliberate hiding of knowledge, whether to protect it or to restrict access, emphasizes the duality of human wisdom. The same knowledge can enlighten or it can destabilize, depending on how it is shared. In many cases, the rediscovery of such texts has led to profound revelations about ancient civilizations. The Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, unearthed centuries later in desert caves, shed light on religious practices and beliefs that were previously unknown or misunderstood. Similarly, obscure manuscripts preserved in monasteries or private collections occasionally reveal knowledge that challenges contemporary assumptions about medicine, astronomy, or philosophy. These discoveries remind us that the past is not entirely silent. It can speak if we know where to look and how to listen. Yet, for every text recovered, countless others remain hidden or destroyed, their contents lost to history, leaving only tantalizing gaps that stimulate the imagination and fuel our sense of mystery. The very act of imagining what these lost texts might contain becomes a form of meditation. We can picture scribes laboring over scrolls by candlelight, scholars debating the meaning of a newly acquired manuscript, or travelers safeguarding precious knowledge across vast distances. There is a rhythm to this imagining, a quiet cadence that mirrors the slow unfolding of history itself. Each speculation, each reconstructed possibility, emphasizes the fragility of human memory and the enduring persistence of curiosity. The lost texts are silent teachers, reminding us that wisdom is often fleeting and that the search for understanding is as important as the knowledge itself. Moreover, the preservation of hidden knowledge often required ingenious strategies. Some texts were encoded in symbols or allegories, readable only to those initiated into specific traditions. Others were hidden behind physical barriers, locked chests, hidden chambers, or remote locations, to ensure that only those deemed worthy could access them. These efforts reveal a profound awareness among ancient civilizations of the power of information and the responsibility that comes with possessing it. The very methods used to conceal knowledge become part of the mystery, hinting at insights that might forever remain just beyond reach, glimpsed only in fragments, shadows, or indirect references. And yet, even in the face of such loss and secrecy, the allure of hidden knowledge persists. The mind naturally seeks continuity, connecting the dots between the known and the unknown, imagining the wisdom that once existed in its complete form. This sense of longing, combined with the fragments we can access, creates a hypnotic rhythm, a quiet pull that carries us gently forward into further exploration. It is a subtle, reflective tension between curiosity and humility. We are drawn to the promise of understanding, yet we recognize the limits imposed by time, decay, and human decision. Lost texts and hidden libraries are not merely historical artifacts. They are invitations, quiet echoes of forgotten voices, guiding us through a landscape where mystery and knowledge exist side by side. As we move from this contemplation of lost wisdom into the examination of the scientific and technological prowess of the ancients, we carry with us the awareness that not all knowledge was meant for immediate discovery. Some was encoded, hidden, or lost intentionally, leaving a trail of subtle hints and enigmas that persist through centuries. This realization prepares the mind to encounter the profound sophistication of ancient science, metallurgy, medicine, and engineering, where the boundaries between reality and the mysterious blur, and where each revelation deepens our sense of awe. In this way, the past remains alive, speaking softly through the fragments it has left behind, inviting us to listen, to wonder, and to imagine what secrets still lie waiting to be found. As we move from hidden texts into the tangible realm of ancient ingenuity, we begin to encounter a remarkable phenomenon. The scientific knowledge of civilizations that existed long before the modern era, yet often seem to surpass what we understand today. These societies possessed a grasp of astronomy, medicine, engineering, and metallurgy that continues to puzzle scholars, revealing insights that were advanced, precise, and in some cases, almost uncanny. It is as though in the distant past, humans briefly glimpsed secrets of a natural world that would be forgotten for millennia, only to be rediscovered, partially, in modern times. The fascination lies not only in what they achieved, but in the lingering gaps, the methods, the processes, and the principles that remain just beyond our comprehension, leaving a subtle tension between admiration and mystery. Consider the precision of ancient metallurgy. Artisans and civilizations such as the Indus Valley, Egypt, and Mesopotamia worked with metals in ways that rival or surpass modern techniques. Objects crafted thousands of years ago often exhibit alloys of remarkable purity, hardness, and resilience, created without the aid of electricity or sophisticated machinery. Tools, ceremonial objects, and intricate jewelry demonstrate an understanding of material properties that seems startlingly advanced. Some artifacts are so precisely made that even today, scientists struggle to reproduce them with identical quality. The process appears at once deliberate and enigmatic, as though knowledge was passed down through methods we have yet to fully decode. It is a quiet, hypnotic reminder that human ingenuity has always existed in tandem with mystery, blending practical skill with hidden insight. Astronomy, too, reveals the depth of ancient observation. Across civilizations, structures, monuments, and calendars were aligned with celestial movements with astonishing accuracy. The Great Pyramid of Giza aligns closely with the cardinal points, while observatories in Mesopotamia, India, and the Americas trace the passage of stars, solstices, and lunar cycles with remarkable precision. Ancient astronomers were not only observers but also recorders, capable of predicting events, tracking cycles, and integrating this knowledge into societal, agricultural, and spiritual practices. These achievements suggest a sophisticated understanding of the universe that surpasses what many modern observers might expect from societies often labeled as primitive. The juxtaposition of this knowledge with our contemporary scientific lens creates a quiet marvel, an invitation to reflect on what has been discovered and what remains hidden, waiting to be understood. Medicine and healing offer further glimpses into the sophistication of ancient science. Texts, inscriptions, and archaeological evidence reveal practices that were both empirical and holistic, blending observations of anatomy, herbal remedies, and ritual practices into systems of care that could yield surprisingly effective results. Ancient Egyptians performed surgical procedures with knowledge of human anatomy, while Indian texts describe techniques in surgery and pharmaceuticals that anticipate discoveries made centuries later. The blending of observation, experimentation, and spiritual awareness suggests that knowledge was not purely theoretical, but intimately connected to the natural world. Yet, despite this sophistication, much of the methodology and underlying reasoning remains elusive, leaving us to wonder how these practices were developed and refined without the systematic frameworks we rely upon today. Engineering and construction similarly hint at scientific understanding that seems ahead of its time. Beyond the monuments themselves, we find evidence of water management systems, roads, and urban planning that reveal a deep grasp of environmental patterns, physics, and human needs. Canals carved through deserts, aqueducts spanning valleys, and roads connecting vast territories demonstrate practical engineering knowledge married to long-term planning. The combination of precision, scale, and functionality challenges our assumptions about ancient societies, inviting the viewer to reflect not only on what was possible, but on how knowledge was applied to solve problems and shape the world. There is a quiet poetry in this work, a rhythm to the integration of science and daily life, as though every technological achievement carried with it a spiritual or philosophical resonance. Yet what makes this knowledge truly compelling is its persistence as a mystery. Despite millennia of scholarship, experimentation, and technological progress, many aspects of ancient science resist modern replication or full understanding. Techniques remain speculative, devices remain enigmatic, and the underlying principles behind some discoveries remain shrouded in uncertainty. This tension between the observable achievements and the unexplained methods creates a calm but persistent curiosity, a hypnotic thread that draws us ever forward. The ancient world, in this sense, becomes a quiet classroom in which the lessons are subtle, requiring patience, reflection, and a willingness to accept that some understanding may remain just beyond reach. As we contemplate these marvels of ancient science, a broader pattern begins to emerge. Knowledge in these civilizations was not fragmented. It was often integrated, combining observation, ritual, art, and practical application into a seamless whole. Astronomy informed agriculture, medicine intersected with spiritual belief, and metallurgy was refined to produce tools for both ceremonial and practical use. There is a sense of coherence, of wisdom applied thoughtfully across multiple domains, that modern scholarship can only partially replicate. In this synthesis, the past feels alive, not as a series of isolated achievements, but as a network of insights, each hinting at the profound depth of human ingenuity and the mysteries that remain locked in time. This awareness naturally prepares the mind for the next step in our journey, the exploration of mystical machines and devices, artifacts that bridge the boundary between science, imagination, and the unknown. As we leave behind the practical and observable manifestations of ancient brilliance, we enter a realm where ingenuity blends with enigma, and where devices and mechanisms hint at knowledge that continues to elude modern replication. The tension between clarity and mystery persists, lulling the mind into contemplation while stoking a quiet sense of wonder. It is here, in this delicate interplay, that the story of forbidden knowledge truly begins to unfold, carrying us gently toward the next revelation and deeper into the mysteries of our shared human past. Among the most intriguing remnants of ancient ingenuity are the mysterious devices and machines that seem to straddle the line between science, art, and the unknown. Unlike the monuments, which are stationary and monumental, these objects suggest movement, function, and purpose that often elude modern understanding. They invite the mind to imagine not just how they were made, but why, what knowledge was encoded within them, what practical or ceremonial roles they played, and whether they contained insights that have been lost over millennia. The Antikythera mechanism, discovered in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece, is one of the most striking examples. A complex assembly of gears capable of tracking celestial cycles, eclipses, and planetary positions, an astronomical computer centuries ahead of its time. Its precision, the sophistication of its design, and the apparent foresight required to construct it challenge our conventional understanding of what ancient societies were capable of, blurring the boundary between genius and enigma. Similarly, in ancient India, texts describe vimanas, flying machines, whose detailed descriptions suggest an understanding of aerodynamics, propulsion, and navigation that seems astonishingly advanced. Whether these accounts are literal, symbolic, or allegorical, they point to a mindset that explored possibilities far beyond the limitations of the observable world. Other enigmatic devices, sometimes small mechanical objects or elaborate ceremonial instruments, hint at knowledge applied in practical, spiritual, or experimental contexts that remain difficult to interpret. The combination of mystery, potential functionality, and sophisticated design produces a hypnotic tension. We can admire their complexity, yet we are left with persistent questions, unable to fully bridge the gap between ancient intention and modern comprehension. Part of the fascination lies in the way these devices intersect with multiple fields of knowledge. The Antikythera mechanism, for example, combines astronomy, mathematics, metallurgy, and craftsmanship, suggesting a synthesis of skills rarely associated with any single individual or society. The creators must have possessed not only theoretical understanding, but practical skill to realize it in three-dimensional form. Similarly, other artifacts found across the world, whether in the Middle East, Asia, or Mesoamerica, demonstrate a combination of technical knowledge, artistic sensibility, and philosophical or spiritual symbolism. This integration hints at a worldview where knowledge was holistic, where science and spirituality were not separate, and where mechanical precision could carry metaphysical significance. For the modern observer, this invites quiet contemplation of the scope and depth of ancient understanding, provoking both awe and gentle curiosity. In examining these mystical machines, we are also confronted by the limits of contemporary interpretation. Archaeologists and engineers can reconstruct the physical mechanisms, speculate on their uses, and attempt to replicate their functions, yet the full purpose often remains elusive. Were these devices tools for practical observation, instruments of ritual, or repositories of hidden knowledge intended only for select individuals? Perhaps they were meant to encode information in ways that could not be easily replicated or understood by outsiders. In the absence of clear instruction or written explanation, we are left with fragments, partial blueprints, and tantalizing clues, each hinting at a sophistication that defies simple categorization. This ambiguity creates a delicate balance between understanding and mystery, a quiet tension that invites careful attention and reflection rather than immediate resolution. The very act of contemplating these objects can be meditative, One can imagine the hands that fashioned tiny gears with painstaking care, the thought and calculation that went into aligning a device with the stars, or the ritualistic attention devoted to its ceremonial use. In this imagined reconstruction, time stretches and folds, allowing us to feel the rhythm of ancient thought, the patience and precision required to translate abstract knowledge into physical form. Each device becomes a dialogue across the ages, a silent conversation between those who built it and those who seek to understand it now. Even if the answers remain partially hidden, the act of exploration itself becomes a journey into human creativity, intelligence, and imagination. There is also an enduring sense of wonder in the global distribution of such enigmatic devices. While the Antikythera mechanism is a singular, well-studied example, other cultures possess similar hints of mechanical sophistication, often overlooked because they exist in fragments or in textual references. From Asia to the Americas, we find artifacts suggesting experimentation with levers, pulleys, and gears, with measurement, calculation, and timekeeping, with concepts that approach modern engineering principles long before the industrial age. The repetition of such ingenuity in disparate regions suggests either universality of human curiosity or the transmission of knowledge in ways we are only beginning to perceive. Either possibility deepens the sense of mystery, reminding us that human history is rich with intelligence that occasionally exceeds our expectations and sometimes even our imagination. As we contemplate these mystical machines, a profound realization emerges. The ancients were not merely observers of the world. They were explorers, innovators, and experimenters, reaching beyond immediate necessity into realms of possibility. They encoded their knowledge in forms that were durable, functional, and sometimes cryptic, challenging future generations to rediscover what they once knew. These devices invite us to reflect not only on technical skill, but on the nature of knowledge itself, how it is discovered, applied, hidden, and occasionally lost. It is in this reflection, in the interplay between visible achievement and remaining mystery, that we find the quiet rhythm of forbidden knowledge, guiding us toward deeper understanding while preserving the gentle allure of the unknown. This journey through ancient devices naturally leads us to the broader paradox of human knowledge, how civilizations can be at once brilliant and inscrutable, advanced in some ways while seemingly primitive in others. By tracing the lines between observable sophistication and lingering uncertainty, we are prepared to explore the next layer of enigma, the paradox of ancient knowledge itself, where patterns, advancements, and disappearances create a tapestry of insight and mystery. The stage is set for contemplation of civilizations that defy linear understanding, preparing the mind for the delicate, hypnotic balance of light and shadow, known and unknown, that will continue to unfold in our journey through the forbidden and the extraordinary. As we leave behind the mysteries of ancient machines, our attention turns to the enigmatic patterns and hidden codes that civilizations left scattered across the earth, often woven into architecture, landscape, and text. These are the signs that suggest a deliberate attempt to encode knowledge, a quiet thread running through time that invites us to look closer, to notice subtleties hidden in plain sight. From the alignment of megaliths with celestial events to the repetition of symbols across continents, these patterns hint at a sophisticated understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and perhaps even consciousness itself. They are not merely decorative or functional. They are deliberate, silent messages embedded in the physical and symbolic world, waiting for those willing to perceive the connections. In tracing these threads, we begin to sense the careful orchestration of knowledge, a kind of universal language that transcends spoken words, bridging cultures, eras, and geographies. One of the most compelling examples of this is the geometric precision found in sacred sites. Temples, pyramids, and stone circles often incorporate ratios and alignments that correspond to astronomical or mathematical principles. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, aligns precisely with the cardinal points and exhibits dimensions that correspond to mathematical constants, suggesting an awareness of ratios and relationships far beyond what might be expected. Similar patterns appear in the planning of Mayan cities, the layout of Angkor Wat, and the ceremonial complexes of the ancient Andes. The repetition of such geometric sophistication across distant civilizations raises fascinating questions. Was this a product of shared knowledge, parallel development, or intuitive genius? The answer remains elusive, and it is in this uncertainty that curiosity thrives, drawing us gently deeper into the mysteries of the past. Numerical patterns and codes are another layer of this enigmatic legacy. Inscriptions, calendars, and codified texts reveal that ancient peoples often employed complex systems to encode astronomical data, ritual cycles, or practical knowledge. The Maya, for instance, created intricate calendars that tracked celestial movements with extraordinary accuracy, combining observation, mathematics, and spiritual significance into a coherent system. Similarly, ancient Mesopotamian texts contain numerical computations for predicting lunar and solar phenomena, while in China, early astronomical records reveal sophisticated cycles and intercalations. These coded systems suggest that ancient knowledge was intentionally structured to preserve accuracy and meaning over generations, yet often concealed in forms accessible only to those trained to interpret them. This subtle interplay between clarity and obscurity is a hallmark of forbidden knowledge, inviting quiet reflection while leaving just enough unanswered questions to spark wonder. Some patterns extend beyond mathematics into symbolic and cultural encoding. Across civilizations, motifs such as spirals, concentric circles, or serpent-like forms appear repeatedly, often in contexts associated with spirituality or cosmology. These images may have served as mnemonic devices, guiding observation, ritual, or learning, yet their recurrence across continents hints at a shared recognition of underlying principles in nature or consciousness. The connections are rarely explicit, and their meaning may have shifted depending on cultural context. But the presence of these motifs underscores a continuity of human curiosity and symbolic thought. When we trace these patterns, we feel a quiet resonance, a sense of continuity that bridges gaps of time and space, inviting us to consider the possibility that knowledge is encoded not only in artifacts and texts, but in the very structure of the world itself. Hidden codes are also embedded in architecture in ways that elude casual observation. The dimensions, orientation, and relative placement of structures often correspond to solar and lunar cycles, seasonal changes, or geographic phenomena. Temples may align with solstices, pyramids may reflect constellations, and pathways may trace sacred geography, creating landscapes that are simultaneously functional, symbolic, and encoded with knowledge. Understanding these connections requires careful observation, patience, and a willingness to see beyond the obvious. It is a gentle reminder that knowledge can be subtle, layered, and deliberate, and that uncovering it often involves quiet attention rather than forceful inquiry. In considering these hidden patterns, we also confront the interplay between human intention and the natural world. The ancients did not work in isolation. They observed, measured, and responded to their environment with acute awareness, integrating their findings into structures, art, and writing. Patterns emerge not only from design, but from the interaction between observation and application, between insight and experimentation. This creates a rhythm to the past, a cadence that is at once soothing and intellectually stimulating, allowing us to appreciate the depth of human ingenuity while acknowledging the enduring mysteries that remain. The beauty lies in the balance, what is revealed through observation, and what remains tantalizingly hidden, inviting us to continue exploring. Ultimately, these hidden codes and patterns reveal a profound aspect of human consciousness, the desire to connect, to communicate, and to preserve understanding across generations. They represent an intentional layering of knowledge, a bridge between the visible and the invisible, the known and the unknown. As we follow these threads, we are drawn into a subtle, hypnotic journey, tracing lines across continents and centuries, feeling the quiet pulse of civilizations that sought to understand the cosmos, and their place within it. The experience is both calming and stimulating, as it encourages reflection, imagination, and a sense of wonder at the depth and continuity of human inquiry. Each pattern, each code, each subtle alignment serves as a reminder that the world we inhabit is imbued with layers of knowledge, some revealed, some hidden, all inviting contemplation and quiet curiosity. The Earth itself is a silent archivist, recording both the triumphs and the tragedies of the civilizations that have risen and fallen upon its surface. Yet, when we peer into its layers, what emerges is not always the orderly history that textbooks promise. Instead, we find a record of sudden, devastating events, catastrophes that may have reshaped the course of human development long before written history could capture their story. From massive floods to volcanic eruptions and celestial impacts, the planet seems to whisper a subtle warning. Humanity's timeline is intertwined with the unpredictable fury of nature. In some regions, sedimentary layers tell tales of floods so immense they could erase entire settlements, leaving only faint traces beneath mud and silt. The flooding of Mesopotamia, the submergence of the Black Sea basin, and hints of vast inundations in South Asia suggest episodes of sudden, catastrophic change. These events may have forced populations to migrate, destroyed infrastructure, and erased knowledge that took centuries to develop. The calm, almost hypnotic rhythm of water carving its path reminds us that nature's power is both quiet and overwhelming, a force that humbles even the most advanced societies. Volcanoes, too, leave behind cryptic signs of their destructive force. The eruption of Thera, the volcanic island that shook the Aegean world around 1600 BC, sent ash clouds high into the sky, altering climates and influencing distant civilizations. Archaeological layers buried under volcanic deposits reveal a sudden halt in human activity, cities abandoned, crops destroyed, and the traces of panic frozen in time. Yet, amid the destruction, life endured, and these layers also tell a story of resilience, adaptation, and a delicate balance between human ambition and natural unpredictability. Even more mysterious are the scars left by celestial events. Craters, rare mineral deposits, and sudden climate shifts point to meteor and asteroid impacts that may have affected civilizations without leaving written accounts. Some researchers suggest that ancient myths of fire raining from the sky, catastrophic floods, and divine wrath may echo these encounters. The contrast between myth and physical evidence creates a space for reflection. Perhaps these stories, passed down through generations, are the memory of events that science can only partially reconstruct. Amid these catastrophic possibilities, the narration invites listeners to imagine the subtle chaos of daily life interrupted by disaster. The stillness after a volcanic eruption, the sudden inundation of fertile valleys, or the unsettling tremors of an earthquake. These are moments that can erase knowledge, cultures, and achievements in an instant. Unlike modern societies, ancient peoples had no written accounts to warn future generations. Their memories, wisdom, and art were often buried alongside the ruins of what once was. The earth, in its patient, indifferent manner, becomes both a preserver and a concealer of human history. Yet, in this delicate interplay between destruction and survival, there's also a rhythm, a pattern that emerges from catastrophe. Layers of ash, sediment, and debris preserve the footprints of humanity, while myths and legends echo the fear and awe inspired by uncontrollable forces. This section, gentle in tone and reflective in pace, allows listeners to rest in the knowledge that history is not a straight line, but a tapestry woven with resilience, adaptation, and moments of abrupt change. By exploring the geological and climatic phenomena that may have silently sculpted civilizations, we bridge the known with the unknown, preparing to examine how these catastrophes may have inspired the myths and legends we still encounter today. It is a reminder that the story of humanity is inseparable from the story of the earth itself, and that the mysteries of our past often lie hidden, waiting quietly beneath layers of stone and soil. Across the tapestry of human memory, Myths and legends have always held a peculiar power. They are at once familiar and strange, comforting in their familiarity, yet unsettling in their hints of forgotten truths. While modern history relies on documents, ruins, and artifacts, the ancient world often spoke in stories. Oral traditions passed carefully from generation to generation, embedding fragments of reality within layers of narrative flourish. What if some of these stories, whispered in the flickering glow of a fire or carved into the walls of temples, were not merely fanciful tales, but echoes of real events long lost to conventional history? In this section, we explore the tantalizing possibility that myth may preserve truth, hiding it within metaphor, symbolism, and allegory. Consider the enduring legend of Atlantis, first recorded by Plato in dialogues that have fascinated scholars for centuries. Atlantis, a civilization described as highly advanced and tragically lost beneath the waves, has inspired countless theories. Some suggest it represents a memory of an actual culture destroyed by flood or catastrophe, perhaps preserved in the collective consciousness through oral storytelling. The beauty of the legend lies in its ambiguity. It is both instructive and mysterious, a moral tale of hubris and human ambition, yet perhaps grounded in a historical reality that science has yet to uncover. It invites the mind to wander through possibilities, imagining civilizations that flourished, achieved greatness, and disappeared almost without a trace. Other myths appear across cultures with strikingly similar motifs, hinting at shared experiences or common human encounters with extraordinary events. Flood myths, for instance, are nearly universal, found from Mesopotamia to India, from the Americas to Northern Europe. Could these stories reflect the same series of catastrophic events hinted at in geological records? The resonance between myth and physical evidence cannot be ignored, for it suggests that human memory, long before it was recorded in stone or papyrus, was attuned to the forces of the natural world. Catastrophic floods, violent storms, or cosmic disturbances, and encoded these events as cautionary tales, morality lessons, or encoded histories. Beyond floods, myths often speak of mysterious lands, hidden cities, and secret knowledge. Legends of Lemuria, a lost continent in the Indian and Pacific Oceans, or the mystical realms described in Native American oral traditions, present a curious pattern. Perhaps these stories preserve the memory of places now vanished beneath rising seas, or societies wiped out by climate change and human misfortune. The narratives convey a sense of wonder and loss, of civilizations that achieved extraordinary feats, yet whose traces have been obscured by time and nature. By listening closely, we may detect echoes of forgotten history, preserved not in stone or metal, but in the cadence and structure of human storytelling itself. Even myths that appear fantastical may hold subtle clues. Tales of gods walking among humans, of powerful artifacts, and of advanced knowledge sometimes reflect the values, technological achievements, or societal structures of ancient peoples. What modern observers might dismiss as exaggeration could, in fact, encode fragments of reality, memories of lost technologies, vanished cities, or extraordinary individuals who shape their world in ways that leave only traces in legend. The line between imagination and memory becomes blurred, inviting quiet reflection on the nature of knowledge and the fragility of human records. In this space between story and history, listeners are encouraged to consider the mind's capacity for preservation. While written documents decay and cities crumble, myths travel with the human voice, capable of spanning centuries, even millennia. They are living repositories of human experience, bridging the known and the unknown, fact and speculation, light and shadow. The gentle rhythm of storytelling mirrors the slow passage of time, allowing the audience to drift into contemplation, imagining entire civilizations whose memory persists only as a whisper of a tale, a motif repeated across distant cultures, a symbol of knowledge hidden in plain sight. By the end of this section, the narrative frames legends not as mere flights of fancy, but as potential guides to understanding the enigmatic past. They serve as bridges to mysteries yet unsolved, and as preludes to the exploration of hidden archaeological sites where traces of these stories might physically manifest. The audience is left with a sense of quiet curiosity, a meditation on the interplay between myth and memory, and a readiness to journey further into the forgotten corners of human history. Some of the most profound mysteries of our past lie not in the textbooks of scholars, but beneath layers of earth, jungle, desert, and water, where time has wrapped its quiet hands around civilizations long forgotten. These are the places where human ambition met the raw force of nature, where cities once thrived in astonishing complexity, and where traces of daily life, ritual, and art lie buried, waiting to be discovered. Hidden archaeology reminds us that history is rarely neat and complete. It is patchwork, stitched together by fragments that survive against the odds. As we journey into these remote sites, the distinction between the known and the unknown becomes fluid, creating a delicate tension that is both unsettling and mesmerizing. In the dense jungles of Central and South America, ruins emerge as if from dreams. Temples, palaces, and plazas peek through the green canopy, their stone surfaces weathered by centuries of rain and growth. The cities of Amaya, such as Tikal and Calakmul, tell stories of advanced urban planning, astronomical observation, and societal organization. Yet much of their history remains inaccessible, obscured by overgrowth, looters, and the erosion of time. In these spaces, the juxtaposition of human ingenuity against the relentless growth of nature creates a silent drama. Each step taken among these ruins is a step into the lives of people whose names are lost, yet whose presence resonates in every carved stela and every sun-faded mural. Under the deserts of the Middle East and North Africa, secrets lie in the shifting sands. Petra, the rose-red city carved into cliffs by the Nabateans, emerges from the arid landscape as a testament to architectural daring and human resourcefulness. Similarly, in the deserts of Egypt, the remnants of lost towns, forgotten temples, and unfinished pyramids whisper the story of ambition curtailed, of civilizations that reached for permanence, yet were claimed by time and wind. The desert, with its slow, patient reclamation, becomes both a preserver and a concealer, hiding layers of history beneath dunes that shift with every storm. These sites remind us that what we see on the surface is only a fragment, a doorway into a much vaster world of memory buried in stone and soil. Even more elusive are the sites hidden beneath water, submerged cities that speak of a time when coastlines were different, when sea levels were lower, or when cataclysmic events suddenly reshaped the world. The underwater ruins off Yanaguni, Japan, suggest structures aligned with precision and purpose, sparking debate about whether they're natural formations or remnants of an ancient civilization. Off the coasts of India and the Mediterranean, submerged settlements hint at populations lost to rising seas. These discoveries evoke a sense of quiet awe, as if the ocean itself is both guardian and gatekeeper, revealing fragments of the past only to those who approach with patience and reverence. The allure of hidden archaeology is not only in what we find, but also in the spaces we cannot yet access. Many sites remain unexplored, buried beneath thick forests, remote mountains, or dangerous waters, waiting for future generations to uncover them. Each ruin, each artifact, carries with it the weight of untold stories. Every corner of a temple, every intricately carved stone speaks of rituals, beliefs, and daily life long lost to memory. The act of discovery becomes almost meditative, a slow unveiling of human achievement intertwined with the natural world. By exploring these hidden sites, listeners are invited to consider the fragility and resilience of civilizations, the impermanence of human achievement, and the persistent pull of mystery. The calm narration emphasizes the quiet majesty of these ruins, allowing the audience to imagine the people who built them, walked among them, and ultimately disappeared. Hidden archaeology becomes a bridge between myth, history, and imagination, preparing the mind to encounter even more extraordinary anomalies, strange human remains, giant skeletons, and evidence that may challenge everything we believe about our origins. In these quiet, forgotten corners of the world, history feels alive yet intangible, tangible yet incomplete. Each discovery, no matter how small, is a reminder that the past is layered, waiting patiently for those willing to explore it with reverence. The listener drifts through these spaces alongside the narrator, moving gently from the awe of monumental ruins to the mysteries of human evolution and lost civilizations, poised to enter a world where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and every stone holds a secret. The story of humanity is often told as a gradual, linear progression, a steady march from primitive beginnings to modern complexity. Yet, hidden within the soil, rock, and forgotten burial sites are anomalies that disrupt this tidy narrative, skeletal remains that seem to belong to a world we barely understand, or perhaps one we have already forgotten. From unusually large bones to skeletons with unexpected features, these discoveries provoke both awe and deep curiosity. They remind us that human history is not merely a straight line of evolution, but a tapestry interwoven with mysteries that challenge conventional understanding. In remote corners of the world, archaeologists have uncovered remains that seem, at first glance, ordinary, yet subtly hint at a different story. Giant skeletons reported in South America, the Middle East, and parts of Asia, though often dismissed or lost in legend, spark questions about the diversity of human forms in ancient times. Were these merely genetic outliers, or could they represent entire populations now erased from our understanding of human evolution? The calm, deliberate narration encourages the listener to imagine these individuals walking across the earth, living, building, and creating cultures that may have left only faint traces behind. Beyond size, there are other anomalies, skeletal features that do not neatly align with known human lineages. Some remains suggest advanced physical adaptations, unusual cranial shapes, or even evidence of unknown diseases or traits. The scientific community often debates these findings, emphasizing caution and the need for verification. Yet the allure of the unexplained persists. In this delicate space between fact and speculation, the narrative allows listeners to linger on the mystery without demanding resolution. Each bone, each fragment, becomes a whisper from a forgotten era, hinting at stories lost to time. Some skeletal discoveries intersect with myths and legends, suggesting that the tales of giants, ancient heroes, and extraordinary peoples may contain fragments of truth. Oral traditions around the world often speak of colossal beings, ancestors with powers beyond ordinary humans, or civilizations whose inhabitants were larger and stronger than any known today. While modern science may struggle to verify these accounts, the recurrence of such motifs across continents cannot be entirely dismissed. They hint at collective memories of peoples who existed, lived, and shaped the earth in ways that challenge contemporary assumptions about human history. The puzzle of human evolution also extends to the timing of our ancestors' appearance. Fossils found in unexpected locations or associated with anomalous artifacts often suggest that humans, or human-like beings, may have been present in regions far earlier than conventional timelines allow. This raises questions about lost migrations, forgotten civilizations, and interactions between human species we barely understand. The narration, slow and reflective, draws attention to the uncertainty, encouraging contemplation rather than rushing toward answers. Listeners are invited to imagine the silent landscapes where these early humans lived, vast plains, dense forests, and rugged mountains, witnessing the dawn of ingenuity and culture long before recorded history. In exploring these skeletal anomalies, we are reminded that the past is not fully known, and that even the bones beneath our feet can tell stories that defy expectation. They challenge our assumptions about size, strength, intelligence, and the very nature of human development. Each discovery is a portal to the unknown, bridging archaeology, anthropology, and legend in a way that keeps curiosity alive while maintaining a gentle, meditative pace. As the section closes, the listener is guided to reflect on the fragility and resilience of life, the fleeting nature of human existence, and the mysteries that endure beyond our understanding. These skeletal puzzles prepare us for the next exploration, the advanced technologies of the ancient world, many of which remain inexplicable and, like the bones of the past, hint at a history far richer and stranger than we have been taught. Humanity's story is written not only in stone and artifact, but in the very bodies that once walked the earth, silent witnesses to secrets that may never fully be revealed. Long before the modern world, long before the hum of electricity or the turning of engines, humans were already achieving feats that continue to baffle researchers today. Across the globe, remnants of ancient technology hint at a knowledge that seems almost otherworldly, a mastery of materials, mechanics, and design that challenges our understanding of what was possible in antiquity. From tools capable of cutting stone with near-perfect precision to mechanisms that could calculate celestial movements, these technologies reveal a level of sophistication that is both inspiring and perplexing. They whisper of a past where human ingenuity intersected with mysteries that science has only begun to approach, and in this quiet exploration, we are invited to marvel without haste. Consider the precision-cut stones of Pumapunku in Bolivia, where massive blocks fit together so flawlessly that not even a thin blade can slip between them. The scale and intricacy of these constructions beg the question: how did people of that era achieve such perfection without modern machinery? Was an advanced understanding of tools a forgotten technique, or something more enigmatic? Each block, each groove, speaks to a deliberate knowledge, a rhythm of labor and thought that has been partially lost to time. The serene narrative encourages the listener to picture craftsmen, their hands guided by skill honed over generations, working under the sun or by torchlight, shaping stone with patience and reverence. Farther afield, the Antikythera mechanism, a bronze device discovered in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece, offers a glimpse into the mechanical genius of the ancient world. This instrument, capable of predicting astronomical cycles with remarkable accuracy, predates any similar technological development by centuries. Its intricacy suggests a deep understanding of celestial movements, mathematics, and engineering. Yet the knowledge required to produce it seems to have vanished, leaving behind only fragments of its story. The contrast between its existence and the historical record creates a quiet tension. Humans had reached astonishing heights of ingenuity, only for time, neglect, and circumstance to obscure the path. Metallurgy, too, reveals astonishing skill. Iron pillars in India, such as the Iron Pillar of Delhi, resist corrosion for over a millennium, defying modern expectations of chemical decay. How these structures were crafted with such enduring stability remains a subject of study and speculation. Other artifacts, from intricately cast tools to delicate mechanical devices, hint at knowledge of materials and processes that surpass conventional timelines. In these examples, the past feels alive and vivid, as though each artifact carries a message from long-dead hands, inviting us to witness a world where technology and mystery were inseparable. Even in everyday tools and simple constructions, there is evidence of advanced problem-solving. Ancient aqueducts, irrigation systems, and road networks demonstrate not only functionality, but also an aesthetic and logical sophistication. These designs required foresight, planning, and an intimate understanding of natural forces, hydrology, gravity, and geography, balanced with human needs. The calm narration highlights the elegance of these achievements, emphasizing that ingenuity was not only in grand monuments, but also in the quiet, practical solutions that supported daily life. In reflecting on these lost technologies, listeners are encouraged to consider the fragility of knowledge. Wars, natural disasters, societal collapse, and the erosion of time have all contributed to gaps in our understanding. What remains are fragments, hints of brilliance that provoke awe, speculation, and deep curiosity. The narrative invites the imagination to wander, to envision the workshops, laboratories, and laboratories of thought where these devices were conceived, to imagine the people whose insights and dexterity allowed these wonders to come into being, and to consider the mysteries that may remain hidden, buried beneath ruins or submerged beneath oceans. By the end of this section, the listener is left with a sense of quiet wonder at human achievement and its impermanence. Lost technologies are more than curiosities. They are bridges to a past that is simultaneously familiar and alien, inviting reflection on the ingenuity of our ancestors and the mysteries that continue to elude explanation. From stone and bronze to knowledge now forgotten, these relics encourage us to look beyond the surface, to seek patterns in the past, and to consider the possibility that human history is far richer and stranger than we can fully comprehend. History, as it is often presented, can appear neat, linear, and logical, a carefully plotted sequence of events, each cause producing an effect, each civilization rising and falling with apparent inevitability. Yet, when we look closer, the story becomes far more intricate, far more mysterious. Patterns emerge that cannot be fully explained, echoes of events, structures, and myths that appear across vast distances and millennia, suggesting threads of continuity that defy ordinary explanation. These patterns are subtle, almost imperceptible, yet their presence invites reflection, curiosity, and a quiet sense of wonder. They remind us that human history is not merely a sequence of discrete facts, but a tapestry woven with repeating motifs, enigmas, and unexplained coincidences, many of which continue to baffle researchers and historians alike. Consider the sudden collapse of great civilizations. The Indus Valley, the Anasazi, the Maya, and others all experienced rapid declines, leaving behind cities and structures that hint at sudden abandonment or catastrophic disruption. In each case, scholars attempt to identify clear causes: environmental changes, resource depletion, disease, conflict. Yet the similarities in timing, urban planning, and ritual behavior across continents raise questions about whether these collapses were entirely independent or part of a larger, unrecognized pattern. When we study these events in juxtaposition, the rhythm of human civilization becomes more apparent, a cadence of rise and fall, construction and abandonment, triumph and disappearance that seems almost orchestrated by forces beyond our understanding. The recurrence of architectural sophistication across diverse regions further underscores the enigmatic patterns that thread through history. Pyramids rise in Egypt and Mesoamerica. Massive megalithic structures appear in Europe, Asia, and the Americas, each seemingly independent, yet sharing design principles, celestial alignments, or construction techniques that astonish modern engineers. Why did so many ancient cultures, separated by thousands of miles and centuries, create monumental structures of such precision and alignment with the stars? The answer is elusive, yet it hints at universal impulses, perhaps shared knowledge, or even the influence of forces we cannot yet comprehend. In observing these repetitions, the mind begins to notice subtle harmonies in human ambition, as if disparate cultures were connected by invisible threads of curiosity, observation, and ingenuity. Similarly, myths and oral traditions reveal astonishingly consistent motifs across continents. Stories of great floods, hidden lands, giants, advanced knowledge, and catastrophic events recur in cultures that may never have had contact with each other. From the flood myths of Mesopotamia to those of the Americas, from the legends of lost lands like Atlantis and Lemuria to the cryptic tales of ancient kings and gods, these stories echo each other in ways that seem too consistent to be mere coincidence. They suggest a collective human memory, a preservation of events and warnings filtered through imagination, morality, and allegory. The repetition of these motifs is a reminder that humans are not only observers of history, but also participants in an ongoing process of recording, interpreting, and preserving memory, even when the events themselves fade into obscurity. Even technological achievements and anomalies display recurring patterns that puzzle modern scholars. The precision-cut stones of Puma Punku, the mechanical sophistication of the Antikythera mechanism, and the corrosion-resistant iron pillars of India suggest that advanced knowledge existed in widely separated regions long before conventional timelines would predict. These repeated phenomena raise questions. Did these civilizations independently rediscover similar techniques, or was knowledge transmitted across vast distances through channels now lost to time? Each pattern, each recurrence, is a puzzle that invites reflection rather than immediate solution, allowing the mind to linger in the possibilities of human capability and ingenuity. Catastrophic events, too, leave patterns that echo across history. Geological evidence suggests that floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and even cosmic impacts occurred repeatedly in ways that influenced civilizations, shaping migrations, cultural evolution, and myth-making. Yet these events are rarely fully recorded, leaving gaps in our understanding. By comparing archaeological records with myths, legends, and sedimentary evidence, we begin to detect a rhythm of destruction and renewal, one that resonates across continents and epochs. These patterns are not merely historical curiosities. They are windows into the complex interplay between human societies and the natural forces that govern the planet. The recurring motifs extend even into human behavior, governance, and societal structures. From the rise and fall of kingdoms to the construction of monumental tombs, temples, and cities, humanity seems to repeat lessons, innovations, and mistakes over and over. Certain social hierarchies, ceremonial practices, and ritual observances appear to be echoed across cultures separated by vast distances and time periods. Perhaps these patterns arise from universal human tendencies, or perhaps they hint at deeper, shared influences now lost to history. The repetition itself becomes a meditation, a gentle reflection on the persistence of human nature and the subtle harmonies that underlie our civilizations. The mind can also perceive patterns in anomalies, artifacts and remains that defy explanation, technologies that should not exist according to the conventional timeline, skeletal forms that challenge our understanding of evolution. These outliers are often treated as exceptions, yet their repeated occurrence across distant regions suggests a hidden logic or design, an undercurrent of mystery that flows beneath the surface of recorded history. Contemplating these anomalies alongside patterns of rise and fall, myth and technology, floods and catastrophes, the listener begins to feel the subtle pulse of history itself, as if the world is trying to communicate a narrative that we are only partially capable of decoding. In this quiet, reflective state, we begin to sense that the unsolved patterns of history are not problems to be solved in the conventional sense. They are invitations to wonder, to imagine, and to respect the vast tapestry of human experience. By observing these patterns without the need for immediate resolution, we engage with history as a living entity, one that continues to speak through ruins, artifacts, myths, and anomalies. Each repetition, each echo, is a thread connecting us to the minds, ambitions, and dreams of those who walked the earth long before us. The recognition of these patterns fosters patience, humility, and a deep appreciation for the mystery woven into the fabric of time. Finally, the unsolved patterns of history remind us that the past is infinitely richer than we can ever fully comprehend. While scholars may catalog events, dates, and achievements, the patterns that repeat across time and space suggest that the world is far more interconnected, complex, and enigmatic than any single narrative can capture. In contemplating these patterns, listeners are invited to slow their thoughts, to drift into quiet reflection, and to feel a profound connection with the continuum of human endeavor. It is a meditation on the persistence of mystery, the subtle harmonies that underlie civilizations, and the beauty of a history that is alive, layered, and endlessly intriguing. As this section closes, the mind is gently prepared to transition into the final reflection, where all the threads of mystery, history, and human achievement come together. The unsolved patterns leave us not with frustration, but with awe, curiosity, and reverence for the unknown. They create a bridge to the final meditation, a space where the unknown is embraced, wonder is celebrated, and the journey through time concludes with quiet serenity. As our journey through the vast corridors of history and mystery draws gently to a close, we find ourselves suspended between the realms of what we know and what we can only imagine. The path we have traced has led through the rise and fall of civilizations, through the marvels of monumental constructions, and into the enigmatic artifacts and skeletal remains that refuse to fit neatly into conventional timelines. Each revelation, each whisper from the past, has been both illuminating and humbling, reminding us that the story of humanity is far more complex, intricate, and astonishing than our textbooks often allow. The unknown, once intimidating in its magnitude, now feels like a companion, a quiet presence inviting us to slow down, breathe, and reflect. Throughout this exploration, we have seen how human ambition has left traces in stone, bronze, and clay, traces that echo across centuries and continents. We have glimpsed cities that thrived and then vanished beneath the relentless forces of nature. The Maya, the Indus Valley, the Anasazi, and countless other peoples remind us of the fragility of civilization, yet also of its incredible resilience. They remind us that even in the face of catastrophic floods, volcanic eruptions, or sudden societal collapses, human ingenuity finds ways to endure. There is something deeply poetic in this resilience, a quiet courage woven into every brick, tool, and artifact left behind for us to discover. And even when these traces are incomplete or obscured, they speak volumes, echoing the ambitions, fears, and dreams of those who walked the earth long before us. The technology of the ancient world, often far ahead of what we thought possible, leaves us with a profound sense of awe. Devices like the Antikythera mechanism, the precision cut stones of Puma Punku, and the corrosion-resistant iron pillars of Delhi hint at knowledge that has been lost, forgotten, or deliberately concealed over the millennia. In contemplating these feats, we recognize that human potential is immense, yet history is not always linear. Knowledge can be built and then lost, civilizations can rise and fall, and innovations that would have propelled entire societies forward can vanish, leaving only tantalizing fragments behind. In this light, the unknown becomes not a void, but a reservoir, a source of wonder that urges us to keep asking questions, to keep exploring, to remain curious and attentive. The mysteries of human evolution add another layer to our reflection. Skeletal remains, anomalous features, and evidence of beings who may have walked the earth differently from what we expect remind us that our species' past is not fully written. We see that humanity is not a single, unbroken lineage progressing steadily toward modernity. Instead, it is a mosaic of diverse peoples, some of whom may have disappeared entirely, leaving only bones, legends, and subtle imprints on the landscapes they once inhabited. By dwelling on these skeletal anomalies, we are encouraged to imagine lives lived in distant ages, minds and bodies shaped by environments, cultures, and experiences that have no direct parallel in the modern world. It is a humbling and awe-inspiring meditation, one that invites respect for both the fragility and the resilience of life. Legends, myths, and oral traditions are equally essential in this reflection, for they provide bridges between fact and imagination, memory and story. Tales of lost continents like Atlantis or Lemuria, of great floods, towering giants, and secret knowledge passed through hidden schools, remind us that human memory often preserves truths in ways we might not immediately recognize. These myths, repeated across civilizations separated by oceans and deserts, mountains and forests, suggest a continuity of awareness, a collective consciousness attuned to events that were extraordinary, catastrophic, or transformative. When we listen to these stories, we are not merely indulging in fantasy. We are engaging with a form of history encoded in narrative, waiting for the careful observer to decode it with patience, imagination, and reverence. Natural catastrophes, the floods, earthquakes, volcanoes, and cosmic impacts that have reshaped the world, also remain a vital thread in our meditation. These events, often sudden and devastating, remind us that human achievement is intimately intertwined with the forces of the planet itself. Cities rise and fall, technologies emerge and disappear, entire populations are displaced or erased, yet life persists. There is a delicate balance in this interplay between humanity and nature, a rhythm that is neither wholly predictable nor entirely chaotic. Reflecting on these events allows us to appreciate the fragility of existence, while marveling at the ingenuity and adaptability that have allowed humans to survive and flourish despite seemingly insurmountable challenges. In contemplating these layers of human history and mystery, we are invited to embrace uncertainty as a space for reflection rather than frustration. The unknown is not a threat. It is an invitation. It calls us to slow our thoughts, to listen to the subtleties and the remnants of the past, and to imagine worlds that existed beyond the reach of modern memory. Each ruin, artifact, legend, or skeletal fragment is a quiet voice from the past, urging patience, attention, and wonder. By accepting that some questions may remain unanswered, we open ourselves to a more profound connection with history, a connection not measured solely in facts, but in the capacity to feel the weight, depth, and poetry of human experience. There is also a profound sense of continuity in these reflections. Every civilization, every discovery, every mystery reminds us that we are part of an ongoing story. We are linked to the past, not just through blood or culture, but through curiosity itself. The same curiosity that drove ancient humans to carve monumental stones, to observe the stars, to craft devices of astonishing precision, and to tell stories that endure across millennia, is the curiosity that allows us to explore, to question, and to wonder today. In this way, mystery is not separate from human experience. It is inseparable from it, a companion guiding us through time and memory. As the mind drifts further into contemplation, it is natural to notice the beauty in unanswered questions. The patterns of history, the recurrence of myths, the enigmatic technologies, and the skeletal puzzles all invite reflection without demanding resolution. There is a quiet elegance in leaving space for uncertainty, a poetic serenity in knowing that some truths may forever remain just beyond our reach. These mysteries encourage imagination, reverence, and patience. And in this calm observation, we participate in a timeless dialogue with those who came before us, builders, thinkers, dreamers, and storytellers whose efforts, ambitions, and creations still speak across the centuries. Finally, as we prepare to rest from this journey, we are reminded that embracing the unknown is also an act of humility and gratitude. The past is vast and layered, and our understanding of it is necessarily partial. Yet, even in its incompleteness, it offers lessons, inspiration, and a profound sense of wonder. By observing what remains, by listening to stories preserved in stone, soil, legend, and memory, we honor both the mysteries and the human spirit itself. In the quiet of reflection, we may imagine lost civilizations, secret knowledge, and moments of extraordinary ingenuity, all coexisting with the present moment in an intricate, timeless tapestry. And so, as the journey comes to its gentle conclusion, the unknown is no longer something to fear, but a companion to cherish. We leave this exploration with calm curiosity, an appreciation for the richness of the past, and the serene understanding that some secrets are meant to be savored rather than fully revealed. The echoes of ancient footsteps, the whispers of lost knowledge, and the quiet presence of mysteries that defy explanation linger with us, inviting us to dream, to imagine, and to rest in the gentle beauty of the world we only partially know. The past, in all its mystery, becomes a sanctuary for the mind, a space to drift peacefully between wonder and sleep, carrying with us the sense that human history, in its unfathomable depth, is a gift both inspiring and eternal.